inside me there's two wolves. There's a rational wolf that says, "Hey, you don't know these people, and you don't know what their exact mentality and thoughts were going into this decision. Probably best to not make statements of fact about their beliefs and motivations." But then
Hmm.
there's a more powerful wolf. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Salt Mine. This is Season 5, Episode 11, and we're scraping something together here after taking off last week, making sure that we are keeping abreast of all new news. My name's Gordo. I'm joined by only Quax today. We got the Gromp filling in the third spot.
Yep.
I got to think up some other creative Gromp name for the episode to get by this one. TDS and Slayer have been attacked by employment. So we'll just
Yeah.
be us holding things down. I'm allergized. I had a bunch of appointments today. I'm tired. Quacks, you just got off work. You look tired.
Yep. And I mean, I believe this is my first time back since I was in Spain for a week and a half. So I'm all tanned up as well. You can't really see it in the camera because I have like lights here and here. But believe me, I got a sick tan on the beach when I was in EU. So that was a fun time. But a lot has actually happened, Gordo, since we were last able to scrape some salt mine together. Across all different kinds of mediums, right? Obviously, there's stuff to talk about with NACL. There's stuff about like Tier 1, and then obviously we've got Aegis. So it's nice that we're able to finally talk about a little bit of that stuff, even though it's a bit sad that we can't be joined by half our cast.
Yeah. So, we got ACL finals coming up tomorrow, so our brains are a little occupied with that as well. We'll get around to that at the end.
Yeah.
Let's start off by talking about the LTA NACL connection news that
Yeah.
we are sitting on here. So, couple of little pieces of information that have come out. We have in our notes here Surdy and Zamudo. I would add Scary Jerry to that list as well, as we find a couple of our NACL promoted folks are potentially leaving the LTA, and then another new NACL folk person is joining the LTA
Yeah.
alongside his former teammate in UG. Let's start off with the positives. Let's talk about Zamudo and what we think he might look like on Lion.
I mean, I feel like it's a bit of a mixed bag. You label it as a positive, Gordo, and I definitely agree with you on that. But I feel like some people have been really low on this move, not just for being able to fix issues with Lion in particular, but also for the development and the growth of Zamudo as a player. Because a lot of people have high expectations for this guy. A lot of people want to see this guy, go on the path that players like Masu have, where you get developed by a team, you have the backing of a really solid organization, and then you can, maybe take that performance to an international stage. I think a lot of people really want that for Zamudo, and people are saying that he's not really going to get that on Lion. I personally feel, though, that that's a little bit unfair to say, because this is Lion's first time getting hands on a rookie, and I feel like people are going to see the results that Lion have put out in winter and spring, and they're going to use those results to put, to me, a false connection between their ability to put up wins and their ability to put up, what is the word? Good performances for their rookie and a good setup for Zamudo. I feel like those are two mutually exclusive things. Even though people are saying they really want it to be and are acting like it is.
Yeah, I think. How do I want to phrase this? I think there's
You gotta be careful with it.
There's a temptation after all these years of LCS and LTA to see a team that placed, bottom half, bottom four, starting a rookie and being like, "Oh, this guy's cooked.
Yeah, this guy's cooked, right?
This guy is
But we have nothing to
doomed."
base it off of, right? Like, this is Lion's first attempt at a rookie.
Exactly.
And I like to think that I like to think that they understand the gravity of being able to, of needing to get this right. and are going to put their heart and soul into making sure Zamudo is comfortable.
Yeah, I would like to at least give them the benefit of the doubt once, right? This is their first rookie ever, unless you count Saint, who isn't bad. So
yeah, no, Saint is, I would say, probably their best player.
Yeah, because
I think him and Henna are really good.
Henna played pro, but Saint did not. Saint is coming straight from challengers.
Yeah.
So I guess technically Saint is their first rookie, who did fine. Although the Korean ecosystem to LTA is a little different than NACL to LTA.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you gotta give Lion the benefit of the doubt at least once before we just start treating them like Dignitas.
Yeah, like this is a horrible move. And people looking at this move, in my opinion, for it to be like something that fixes Lion and gets them better results, like this is a move that is being, I feel like moves that you make between spring and summer, most of them, we'll get to the small portion in a bit. I feel like most of them are for the sake of development, right? And just trying to look at the next year, right? Sort of playing the long game. I don't think Lion are under the impression that getting Zamudo on their team is going to instantly shoot them up, to a top 2 standing and potentially qualify them for Worlds, because now we only have 2 teams at max, by the way, that we can actually send to the World Championship. I don't think Lion are under the impression that Zamudo is going to be that guy. I don't even think Zamudo himself is under the impression that he's going to be that guy after just one split. We've seen some of the best players for some of the best organizations bring in people such as like Quid, right? Was brought in during summer for 100 Thieves. It took him a split to adapt, but now he's probably the best player outside of a, perennial top 3 team, and has been for basically every single split that he's been around outside of that inaugural one that we just referred to.
Yeah. And arguably Lion is the most committed to America's talent development of all the LTA teams, because they're the one of the 8 LTA teams that actually has an academy team. Lion does have an academy team over at LRN. Something none of the 7 North American teams can say. So you know what? Give Lion that credit. They're at least
give them a chance.
They're somewhat interested in keeping their talent pipeline alive, they have a especially vested interest in it, given that they are required to run 2 players from that region. So, someone's got to do it. But all in all, I just don't want to write off Lion out of hand just because I know Shopify
because they put up mediocre results. Like that feels like
split, with their all veteran plus Saint team.
It feels like they're just jumping to conclusions.
I think people are a little. Well, first of all, like it's been a rough split for NA rookies between Surdy and Scary Jerry, both very likely losing their jobs here. And then we're fresh off Shopify coming in as a new org and starting Tomio for like 4 games and then say, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, the wounds are definitely there.
So I think, and yes, this is, the same split that Masu popped off and was great and stuff, but, people look at the negatives more than the positives. So there's plenty to complain about right now in regards to how teams have managed their rookies. So I get the pessimism. But I think I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt once before I start saying that this is bad for Zamudo's career.
I would say, though, that maybe this is a really good moment to go into the pessimism ourselves, Gordo, because on one hand, while there is some light to the Tier 1 system, there's a decent amount of darkness, and that comes in the top lane as well with the news about Surdy. Now, I do want to preface, I think there is not a single thing, Gordo, that you and I can say about the Surdy situation that hasn't already been said, right? There is not a single person that we can put in our crosshairs to take shots at that hasn't already, been leaking blood due to how many bullet holes they've had to endure over the past, week and a half since this was announced. Because this announcement has really taken the Tier 1 discussion by storm. And honestly, I like to be a contrarian as much as the next guy, but even I can't find like, oh, this is actually good because this is just a straight up shit move. Like we were just talking about how teams that switch out, between spring and summer for, potential new players are looking to maybe, especially if they're outside of the top three, are maybe just looking to play the long game and looking to play for the next year where they can have a team that has a little bit more cohesion, a little bit more synergy. And this is just the complete antithesis of all of that, what we just said, Gordo, because this move, replacing Sturdy for Photon, makes absolutely no fucking sense. And I know you're the big dig ripper, so I'm gonna let you take this one for the starts.
I mean, I'm gonna attack this from a different angle than many people have,
Okay.
which is that I'm forced to assume that Dignitas just thinks this is good. Like they just want this is just what they think you're supposed to. This is how you operate a League of Legends team. Like you say that the spring to summer shifts should be for development and eyes towards the next year when your
if
team
you're
is
not
already,
a top 3 team.
When your team is already not performing well. Yeah, you say that like it's a truism, but if you look at Dignitas since they rejoined the league in 2020, so we've got about 5 years now of Dignitas with Bakery as GM to look at. And I am forced to conclude that they think spring split is when you do development, and then if you are not immediately the best team in the league, or maybe even if you are immediately the best team in the league, we've never seen what happens if they're the best team in the league in spring, so we don't know how that outcome turns out. But at the very least, from the sample size we have where they aren't the best team in the league, we can see that they start rookies in spring, and then they dump those rookies in favor of veterans in the summer, and then they dump those veterans before the next spring. They have done that every year for 5 years. So you can't tell me they're not trying to do it. If they aren't trying to do it, then why does it keep happening, Quax? So I just have to think like Bakery and Dignitas, the powers that be that employ him, have the complete opposite perspective on how all this should go.
It's just the word.
Than anyone else does. We can't pretend like it's an accident. It happens every year. It's the worst
kind of philosophy to have when it comes to, like, I agree with you. I think that Dignitas going into every year, every split, even if you want to break it down and get a little bit more granular now, the fact that they're under the impression that the roster philosophy should be, okay, we have to pray we get a royal flush or else it's bust, go again, is probably the worst mentality in the history of like anything. Like I feel like you are basically trying to circumvent the time, effort, and overall communication it takes to actually build a roster that can compete with the best, and they just don't seem interested in doing that. And hell, this was actually one of the better looks that Dignitas have had in recent years, right? Like I obviously don't think that Surdy, Shaden, the rookies from NA were doing like the best in the league or anything like that, but they certainly weren't doing the worst, right? Like I'm not gonna pretend like Surdy and Shaden were these miracle picks that should be like basically the second coming of Keen and Canyon, but they're so undervalued and this is an injustice. But also acting like these guys are so bad that they should go back to, academy or potentially go back to fucking anywhere other than LTA, to me just feels like such a big disservice. Like I feel that this is basically the most anticlimactic ending potentially for Surdy, because this guy was hyped up all of last year. Everyone was singing his praises. He literally completed the fucking infinity gauntlet of achievements beyond getting into without getting into tier 1. He gets into tier 1 and is dropped after what is essentially a split and a half. I'm not counting winter as like its own separate split. That shit is like a preview when you go to a movie.
Agree. If you're a bottom half team in winter, it's not a split.
And I think the worst part is who they replaced him with. Now, I'm not going to pretend like Photon is the worst player in the world, but he isn't the fucking best. Like, okay, listen, if Keen got into a physical fight with Chovy and decided to leave Gen G and that guy is free agent, then yeah, Dignitas pick that guy up. There you go. Maybe you actually make Worlds with that move for the first time in your organization's history, I believe. But like, this is like a mid-tier LEC top laner. Like, this isn't even an upgrade, in my opinion. This is basically just throwing out any issue that you, or any, you know, synergy that you had built up with your top laner out the window and trying again. With a player who is probably going to come to NA, experience a little bit of cultural shock. Obviously, it won't be as bad for Photon because he's been in EU, so he has a rough idea of what to expect coming here. But you have to build it all up again. And I just don't understand where the thought process comes from getting someone like Photon to replace someone like Surdy, who are, in my opinion, not too far away from skill. If you want someone with more experience, there's probably better people to get, if I'm being completely honest with you. This kind of a switch, just, I can't justify it. Like, in my wildest dreams, I couldn't say, like, I'm trying my best to be like, all right, maybe Photon has this avenue of being better than Surdy, but really, it's not there. When, like, you really have to dig deep in order to, in my opinion, find something that Photon can do exponentially better than Surdy that justifies replacing it and scrapping months of work with this player.
Yeah, I mean, my major issue with Photon is and continues to be, and I know I make this point all the time, but it remains true, and I will continue to say it until LTA GMing improves. I think the biggest issue with Photon, for me, is that he's not going to be here in a year. And
yeah,
maybe he'll be an exception, but I'm gonna keep saying, I'm just gonna state it like it's a fact.
He's not gonna be here in
well, and I'm gonna state it like it's a fact because even though I'm gonna be right 4 out of 5 times, so whatever. I'm gonna keep I'm gonna take my 80% hit rate and take being wrong on the chin. I'm just gonna state matter of factly he's not gonna be here in a year, and maybe I'm wrong, whatever. But I'm gonna say that about every new player that gets brought in like this. I'm gonna be right most of the time. And that turnover is bad for the whole fucking ecosystem, man. It just is. You know, it still continues to be, I think, one of the hardest parts of being a fan of the LTA is that, I mean, especially now when like player content is at like an all-time low, right? Where there's less orgs making stuff and outside of the top orgs, and Riot isn't doing like these drive documentaries and stuff anymore, but even when they would go to, you know, guys like Prince who would then disappear the next year. And it's like, I just refuse to ignore the negative impact that has on the league. Like, these are your star players for the league. These are who you advertise the league with. These are who fans are meant to identify with, and then they just fucking vanish the next year. It's like, what?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, that I didn't think about. You're basically getting rid of some of your, you know, most hyped cast members for no reason.
I mean, I've been on this train since, what was the Prince Vikla year? That was 2022?
That was 2022, yeah.
22, 23, something like that?
No,
23.
23.
Yeah. Because it was the first Papa Smithy FlyQuest year. Yeah, it's like because I had new friends I was trying to get into the league semi-successfully that year. Not new friends to me, but new friends to the League of Legends, and they watched that year, and the main fucking characters of that split were Prince and Eminus, and then they're just not back in 2024. And
okay, I think Eminus is a bit of an exception.
I mean, he's an exception in that he was a unique player, like with unique issues.
He was a little bit more unique outside of
sure,
being a player.
But the point being is that he's brought in with that being the case, right? Like he's again, I get it. Eminence isn't just an import issue, but the import issue contributes to that, right? Like Eminence is,
no, I mean
you're not opening yourself up to that issue if you're not like fishing around for the next,
I get
you
it.
know, star Korean that you think.
Eminence, in my opinion, was a bit of a piece of shit. So I kind of throw him to the wolves. And I mean, especially after that whole manifesto. That manifesto was fucking hilarious, by the way. Who was it that he said their mom makes really good like kimchi or so? It was Fake God. He was like,
Yes.
yeah, Fake God's mom makes really good kimchi. And then Fake God retweets it and is like, yo, I didn't expect to get outed like this. I mean, like, I agree with you. I do think that obviously when you've got these players that generate a ton of momentum behind them, they go into the league and then they just immediately get booted. It's hard to be invested. That's definitely an angle that I didn't consider
Yeah,
going
well, I
into
mean, like,
this. But
Umpty's that now. Berserker was that. Like, too many
yeah,
stars of this league are players who are here temporarily until either their current team is done
fucking
with them, in which case,
JoJo as well, Danny, like
sure, yeah,
the
and
list
like,
goes on.
yeah, I mean, those are, yeah, and again, like the JoJo issue is funnily enough like the reverse of the problem that I think most
Kind
unicorns
of,
run
a little
into
bit.
when they lose their team. Whereas in
He'll
JoJo's
be back.
case, it's
He'll be
like
back. I believe.
nobody's willing
I
to
believe.
pay JoJo enough. Whereas the issue I think with most players is they lose their first team, and then other teams aren't willing to both make the salary and import math work to
Yeah,
recruit them, and then they just they go back and they go and play in their domestic leagues.
yeah. I mean, I think that this mentality though has the potential to change. Like I would like to think that Lion picking up Zamudo and us, already kind of saying that this is their first big trial run with an import from NA. They're gonna give a shit and they're gonna try and make him work beyond just potentially one split 1 year and try to build around him. And I think that to me is promising for an organization that is new. Like if this LTA whole format thing is going to stay, right? If the backlash is not going to be enough to make a dent, make a change, and potentially a reversal, then I mean, fuck it. Lion build around Zamudo, they build around their talent, and they get some legacy players on their team to generate hype for being a new organization. That to me gives me a little bit of hope, but like I definitely feel for the pessimism here on the Surdy stuff and like how NA sort of abandons their main cast because realistically, this is what Dig has always done, though. Like, I feel like, some organizations have gotten better about it, like, even to a point where I think it gets a little bit ridiculous. Like, C9 has stuck with Sven for so long and made it work, regardless of everything. Much to the dismay of certain
Well, he
fans.
did go
But
to a
he's a
summer
main
jig
cast member,
team.
so there you go.
He did go to a summer jig team for a split,
He
so
did, he did.
there's a
But,
bridge
like,
here.
there's still players that I think generate hype and generate fandom, but I do think that we as a region tend to like we don't really give second chances, and I feel like that's not necessarily a mentality that we should have. Like I don't like doing this a lot, comparing us to other regions, but like one thing from LCK that I have a ton of admiration for a lot of the GMs over in Korea is that they don't make changes to the roster basically throughout the year. Even if their team is fucking awful, they will stick it out because they want to try and build on the synergy rather than start from scratch. Like you will not see a lot of LCK teams, say fuck it in after spring if they had a disappointing run and switch one player out, right? Like that is an anomaly. So I swear to fucking God, if DN Freaks, who went, by the way, 1-17 in the LCK spring, if they do not get rid of, any of their players, if Pioshik still has a job, if Berserker still has a job, right? And Surdy does not, there's something wrong with our org or our orgs, and there's something wrong with our region because that is a mentality that Korea has that I think we need to start adopting for our native talent. Stop fucking being so cutthroat with these spots and being willing to just give them up. For DSG, I kind of understand because they're a promo relegation team, but for Dignitas, it makes no fucking sense. It literally makes zero sense. So I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I have other takes, but let's move on for now. We'll
Yeah.
have plenty more conversations like this in
Oh,
future episodes. As always, it's always something being discussed. Um, Yeah, I mean, I don't have any more unique points on DSG's change with Scary Jerry. That's it. That also feels like it's old news at this point. But
Yeah, it's kind of gotten worn out.
I mean, same old, same old. We'll see who the mid laner ends up being. I mean, rumor
I've
is
heard
it
some
might be.
rumors. I can't say anything, but I've heard. I think it's
Yeah.
down to like 3 players.
Okay. Yeah. I don't want to leak anything. I've been hearing one name more than the others, and I would be, and it might be another in the good news category, but
Hmm.
the uh, at, so I'm kind of assuming it's more likely than not, but I still think Scary Jerry gets a short end of the stick, and it doesn't seem like they've lined. It almost makes less sense than Photon because their quote unquote upgrade Rahel is not even like this. At least Photon has like some pedigree to him as a solid like
I think Photon's best was a while ago. Like, I think
sure.
Photon's best was on that fucking catastrophe of a Vitality team with Bo.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. But like, what's Rahel's best? Like, not like the bad SK team.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't know, man. Like,
Yeah, I don't
and
know.
this comes from a time when I feel like the skill level of EU and NA prospects has never been more blurred. If anything, I think North America's pretty sizably better
I
than
guess
EU. A lot
Rahel's
of people
peak
are,
is top is that 8-1 round robin with Niski in 2024
yeah.
summer.
I I feel like FlyQuest are going to be way better in EU, by the way. So I don't know why than EU, by the way. So I don't know why people
Agreed.
are so have such a hard on for getting people from EU to NA. It makes absolutely no sense. That region is dog shit. You can't change
Yeah,
my
I don't
mind.
know. It's great that like Disguise is getting Rahel and now apparently SK is getting Abadage. So it's just a human set. We're just pooping back and forth forever. We're not
I
like our
fucking
teams are not even we're not even changing it. The bad teams are just trading players back and forth between the two regions, and
dude,
nothing's gonna change.
Abe. I don't even get me started. I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole with
I
that
know.
shit
I have
because
too many jokes that I can't say on the podcast about SK GMing, so we'll
yeah,
we'll talk. We can go through my SK jokes when we're off recording. Okay, let's get into more bad news. Let's talk about NACL
yeah,
format stuff. Because so it's sounding like I'm hearing in the background, and I don't think this is a leak because this is the official public position of Riot Games at the time of recording. Uh, because we've gotten no updates since the 2025 season primer for NACL Tier 2, or for, sorry, LTA Tier 2, America's Tier 2.
yeah.
And it sounds like they are. My leak is that it sounds like it's not changing, which is that the summer split for NACL is going to be a best of one single round robin for the regular season, into top 8 teams going to a double elimination bracket. So we are likely going to slam through the regular season in 3 weeks, playing best of ones, uh, and then we're going to relegate 2 teams off of that. Ostensibly, the reason we're doing this is to maintain parity with Tier 1 because Tier 1 was going to have a round robin best of one split in the winter, or sorry, in the spring, and was going to stop doing Fearless. So the reasoning is that, well, yeah, we stopped doing Fearless too, and then the promo tournament's going to be non-fearless. That was the logic at the time of this announcement. Their specific
Yeah.
wording is shorter regular season using single round robin best of one to focus on a more expansive double elimination playoffs. The best teams from Split 2 playoffs qualify for the Tier 1 promotion tournament. Split 2 will not feature Fearless Draft to ensure parity between Tier 1 and Tier 2 heading into the promotion tournament. But now Tier 1 is Fearless, and Tier 1 scrapped their best of one round robin format. So we are now keeping this format that's only justification was maintaining the same format as Tier 1. But we also aren't maintaining the same format as Tier 1. We are now drifting away from Tier 1. So we are both not the same as Tier 1, and we're playing a worse format. For, as far as I can tell, no reason.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I just feel like, this takes away so much investment for a lot of, casual fans that were honestly like, I think now just getting into the NACL. Like, I think that Double Lift and near airport opened the door to how much talent there actually is in NA. And I think that BO3 is, kind of pushed that forward, because I think BO3s in general, you ask like 10 people and 9 of them are probably 10 of them, honestly, are probably going to be like, yeah, I prefer watching best of threes. There's more investment. Fearless makes it way more fun. And overall, I think it's a better judgment of, team skills. But now a lot of those players are probably not going to be, now a lot of those viewers are probably not going to be interested going into summer, hearing that it's BO1. Because one thing that I've learned for League fans is that they fucking hate change. Doesn't matter if the change is good, bad, sideways, up and down, diagonal. They just hate it when shit changes. And I feel like not only is this a change, it's a genuinely pretty not great change, in my opinion. Like, this takes away investment for me. I think that this takes away a better viewing of team skills. This takes away a chance to develop more for stage games. Like, this to me handicaps the main goal of tier 2 at its core, which is to try and develop talent. And you are significantly stifling that by not having them play more games, right? At the end of the day, that is the biggest loss. You can talk about viewership, you can talk about investment, you can talk about sponsors if you really fucking want to. Doesn't matter. That, at the end of the day, is what NA tier 2 should be, and you are single-handedly capping that by making this change, in my opinion.
But wait, there's more. And I've already written out my tweets on this. I'm going to wait until it's officially announced that we're doing this stupid single round robin best of one format to share these thoughts on Twitter in an effort to reach more viewers. But I'm happy to say it all here. So we're blindly sticking to our priors on the single round robin best of one format, even though we don't have any real justification for why. Are we confident that we're not going to continue to do that? Are the NACL playoffs going to be non-fearless? Is the promotion tournament going to be non-fearless? I wish I could sit here and go, no. Reasonable heads will prevail. That's not going to happen. But I've been saying that for months about Split 2 being round robin. I've been telling people for months, yeah, the announcement says Split 2 is going to be round robin, but that announcement's from before we went to Fearless Forever. LTA changed their format for spring. Surely NACL will change its format for summer, and now it appears that we are not. So if we aren't changing the summer format, are we going to change the playoffs format? Are we going to change the promotion tournament format? I have no indication that we will. So, I mean, we might go from Fearless Tier 1, like, DSG might go from playing Fearless Tier 1 to non-Fearless Promotion Tournament, and or NACL teams might go from playing non-Fearless Playoffs to playing a Fearless Promotion Tournament. I wish I could say I had faith that that's not going to happen, but I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like breaking... Do I want to say, what is the right word? Not necessarily tradition, but like breaking the mold and being like, fuck Fearless for basically no reason is just so stupid. Like, I seriously think that Fearless is one of the most fun changes that has been implemented to Pro League of Legends in a while. Like, I honestly struggle to think of something that is, reinvigorated interest in actually being able to watch every single match. Like, I remember my dad, when I was growing up, used to be super into League of Legends esports and would often watch series in the background while I was, doing school or playing solo queue or fucking eating dinner, whatever. There'd always be a league match on. And he had kind of a rule of thumb that he would do when it came to like watching Eastern matches, that weren't on our same time zone. It would be watch games 1, 3, and 5, right? Because like those are the ones that really usually matter, right? Like watch the first game, potentially watch like a second game, and then watch the last game, right? Like you don't have to watch every single game. I think Fearless completely shatters that. I think you have to watch every single game if you want to get the max amount of enjoyment out of it. And like I said before, enjoyment for viewers at the end of the day should not be the main goal for the tier 2 system. It should be developing the players. But like, I just have to go back to that. It feels like such a self-sabotage in every sense of the term.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much more to say on it than that. Other than that, it seems to me that, I mean, this promotion tournament thing to LTA has not been well thought out. I think, I really hope that in the future, A, I think you need at minimum, and this is taking notes from VCT, I think you need at minimum 3 guest slots to really make this work. Because
Yeah.
we are already running into the issue. Well, we've already discussed the issue. It's not going to be a problem this year, I promise you. But the promo tournament takes place before Worlds, so there is a possibility for a guest team to make Worlds, play the promo tournament, relegate, and then go to Worlds anyway. That's a
That would be.
disaster.
That's probably never gonna fucking happen, but that would be so
Yeah, I
fucking
mean, but
funny.
the fact that it's possible means we are literally just crossing our fingers and hoping that a promo tournament, that a guest team never makes Worlds. Uh,
Yeah.
because it's going to be a massive disadvantage, even if it's like, oh, DSTL promotes in and their team is sick and they're, able to actually make Worlds. And, like, it's still a major, even if there's no risk of them actually getting relegated, it's a major disadvantage to their Worlds run because they can't go boot camp.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's all. Like we appear to be a gambling that the guest team will never be good. Um,
Then at
I
that point, what's the fucking
yeah,
point?
like
Like,
I don't even know what to say. I don't know what to say other than that. Like the format, there's no other explanation for the format being like this. They're just like, well, the guest team's not going to be good, so we could do it this way. Like if you if you thought there was
yeah.
ever a risk of the guest team being good, you would not set it up this way.
I also
Uh,
think that Riot, like this is kind of an interesting bridge that we could take into not necessarily a topic that we have for today, but like some news with the whole Dark Zero thing, because Zamudo being moved from DZ slash Maraville slash Dragonsteel to Lion means that DZ lost like two of their best players,
yeah,
and
I was
now
getting to that.
yeah,
Yeah, so I mean,
but it's like
hang on, wait. So really quick, so A, the
yeah,
format
yeah,
is built assuming that the team will never be good, and then two, because there's no promo between spring and summer, and there's no roster lock that seems to occur. The format
yeah,
also appears to be set up so that Disguise could just be the guest team for forever because they can just buy whatever players they want
yeah.
for their competitors. At least 3 months before, as recently as 3 months before the tournament, but
Sounds like
perhaps
that.
even further than that, right? Like they can tear apart their potential. All the LTA teams can tear apart their potential future competition because it's not like Lion and TL don't benefit from a potentially stronger team than DSG appearing in the league. Like Lion and TL also benefit from DSTL, or sorry, Dark Zero being not making the league as a good team. So I mean, there's just
Yeah,
these terrible like incentives across all the pro teams to just cannibalize these rosters at mid
pretty
season.
much. And I mean, like, this is really rough for Dark Zero. There are reports that Dark Zero were really trying to hold on to their players because they wanted to prevent this exact thing from happening. And I mean, it sucks for them because now I feel like you lose Zamuto, you lose Yuji, and your chances of being the guys to actually challenge Disguised in the future after the summer split significantly go down, right? Especially with Luminosity more than likely keeping all of their players and probably going to be maintaining form ahead of the summer split. It's just rough because like yeah, there's not a lot to say about it. Like it feels like the system definitely came in like the promo relegation system came in half baked, and I don't think Riot really put in all the thought they necessarily should have to these changes, which sucks a little bit. But I mean, the hope is that they adjust these changes and prevent things and concerns like this from happening again. But I mean, is that going to happen? Who fucking knows?
Yeah. So I don't know. That's my news on NACL and the promotion tournament.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is a sad
You got a little
episode, man. Because
pessimistic
it's
today,
this is a
Gordo.
sad episode, man. Because the next thing we're going to talk about is near airport leaving. Uh,
Shit, yeah.
this is next up on the
I don't have a
schedule.
lot to say about this. I honestly like I put out like a decent like people that know me know my thoughts on this. Like, okay, look, better late, like better now than later, in my opinion. And if they don't want to keep playing, that is fine. I have my speculations that probably, maybe two of the players wanted to keep playing, but, maybe it was like split down the middle and certain players might have had more influence on the team than others. But that's just speculation talk, if I'm being completely honest with you. Overall, though, like, this kind of sucks for the level of the NACL going into summer, which, I mean, I think despite, Polestar and AMI being out, I think it's probably, which we'll get to, by the way, I think it's probably going to be weaker because, like, let's assume for a moment that all of the rosters stay the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which we know is not true, right? We know that there's going to be actually a lot of moves from what I'm hearing. I mean, I still feel like overall losing your airport, you lose a solid like upper echelon team that probably could have remained around the third or fourth spot, potentially even challenge for second because we know that Dark Zero are going to be getting a new top side, and like that sucks overall. So I'm a little bit sad about that. I'm a little bit sad about the viewers we're more than likely going to be losing ahead of this change. But again, if they don't want to compete, then fuck them. Thank you for playing. The whole near airport drama of like even starting from the promotion tournament of like, oh my god, are they gonna win and then not play? Like it feels like they probably learned their lesson, and I would rather them quit now than stick it out, and not try and then make the league worse because of it and potentially tank viewership anyway because they're doing dog shit.
Yeah, I think the viewership loss is definitely real. I'm not that concerned about the quality of play of the league, honestly, because I think Citadel, again, we're assuming no changes. I think Citadel kind of slots into their spot quite nicely.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think they're pound for pound exactly the same, but I think like there's an argument that their bottom lane is better. I think their jungle situation is probably clearly worse.
Yeah.
I think I probably have Philip over TF Blade, especially the version of
Their
TF
their
Blade
mid
that
lane
he had.
situation is also 110 fucking percent worse, by the way.
They're what?
Their mid lane situation is also 110
110%.
fucking
Yeah, I
percent.
agree. I
Like
Cobalt are over
obviously, like
Bradley for
ABO
sure.
is good. Like or no, not a Blaze Olive or Bradley.
Bradley
I
is,
don't
yeah.
know why I was thinking of Abo. Bradley is obviously good, but I mean, like
Agree,
Cobalter
agree,
was
agree,
was
agree,
was
agree.
pound for pound, bar for bar the
Yeah,
best
it's not like
rotator.
they're better in 5 positions, but I think they're comparable-ish. Like I think Citadel would have been if they were in the league this split. I would have assumed that they would be top half in that kind of conversation, probably around the 6-3, 7-2 mark, and like I think Dorado is probably would have been top half as well, or at least like around the CCG mark.
Yeah, like
So I think
I
I don't
think
know. I think
Dorado could
there's
be
I
the
think there's stuff to
CNB.
be optimistic about, and then I also again no specifics on what we know or don't know, but some more of the Dark Zero Light guys seem to be trickling out into the broader ecosystem, and that is also good. So I think we're
Yeah.
gonna get an influx of good players. I'm gonna miss AMI, but I
Yeah, me too.
think it's probably like I think those 5 players together as a team are probably not going to raise the level of the NACL very significantly. I hope some of those players go out and find other teams, but I think all in all, like the net result is going to be a stronger league, pound for pound,
Mm,
with the teams that we do have in.
I mean, let's talk about those teams a little bit. Honestly, like we can give
One
like a
moment,
little
I
bit
do
of
want
a
to finish the NACL point or
sure.
the NA departing NACL point. Um, the only I think unique take I have on NA, and I don't know if it's particularly unique, and I've expressed this much on Twitter, is that my criticisms are not around what they did. They're more around what they didn't do. I think that this was a very easy opportunity to support the scene and the community that is necessary to sustain North American League of Legends, and they just they just swept it aside and did not give a fuck. And that's, I think, that's the shame to me, right? Like, how piss easy would it be to, at the end of that video where they announced that they're not continuing to compete, like, how piss easy would it just be to just say, hey guys, keep watching NACL, keep supporting the next generation of players? Like, how
I mean,
easy would it be to do that? And they
at the
don't
end of
do
the
that.
day,
They, in fact, say, come watch our streams as we go do something else.
yeah, I mean,
Like,
at the end of the day, I feel like part of the reason they left is because they also realized that like they weren't going to shit stomp this league. Like they probably came in
that's.
under the impression that we are better because
Mm-hmm.
we have been to the LCS, we have been to Worlds, NA has no talent, and basically parroting the fucking sentiment that most casual league fans have about, North American talent in general, realize that they're wrong and that they actually have to put in effort to beat the best, and they don't want to do that. And like I think that is pathetic. Like there's no other fucking word to use. Like again, obviously if you don't want to put in the time, then fucking get out. But if the reason you're leaving is because you thought it was going to be a quick and easy Los Ratones, copycat, and it was going to boost all of your viewership and get so much hype around you in particular, and not necessarily caring about the region, I'm kind of glad that a cold bucket of water splashed most of these players in the face, because that's a mentality that is archaic and one that is outdated. So I'm happy, honestly, if that was their plan going into it all along, that they only finished fourth. And in fact, losing to Conviction, I feel like, is the sweetest kiss of death ever, because that's a team that literally has all the development they could possibly fucking want. Like that is the antithesis of the mentality that Near Airport and their fans go into, probably thinking with every single pro match that they watch.
Yeah, and inside me, there's two wolves. There's there's a rational wolf that says, "Hey, you don't know these people, and you don't know what their exact mentality and thoughts were going into this decision. Probably best to not make statements of fact about their beliefs and motivations." But then there's a more powerful wolf that completely agrees with what you just said, that these guys came in thinking they were going to shit slam the league, and now they're quitting because they can't. And you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna say roll with that narrative, baby. Like, because listen, if they had shit slammed the league, that 100% would have been the narrative, right? Is that
Yeah.
LOL NA tier 2 sucks ass. These retired
Washed up.
pros come out
Yeah.
not even trying, and they slam the whole league. Like, that 100% would have been the narrative if they had done well.
And that's what we were. That's why you and I, in particular, Gordo, we're not here to have like TDS defend these guys, this time around. But like, we knew that was totally the fucking mentality they were going into with this. We were like, we don't want them to win, because then that just proves us wrong. And I'm really glad we got proved right, to be honest with you, by a team we didn't think was going to prove us right. All the more sweeter.
Yeah, 100%. So, again, yeah, like, if they had been successful, that 100% would have been the narrative. So when they're unsuccessful into drop, I'm gonna embrace the opposite narrative and say, yeah, 100%. I mean,
Yeah.
so fuck it. It doesn't even matter anymore. But when we talk back about this era in 3 years and we shortened everything to a sentence, you bet your ass somebody be shortening it to, oh yeah, Double If got slammed and then quit because he couldn't hang. You bet your ass that's going to be my summary of events when we look back on it in a couple of years.
If anything, this just makes what Los Ratones are doing all the more fucking impressive, because we're recording this after they won their second EMEA title, or EMEA. I call it EMEA because I don't know.
EMEA is fine. I think they say EMEA.
Yeah, but like that just makes it all the more impressive, because they are willing to put in the time. They are willing to put in the effort. They are willing to put in the blood, sweat, and tears. And overall, it benefits everybody, in my opinion. Like, I felt like Doublelift and Near Airport were doing this just to benefit. Like, I also think another angle that you could look at it from, and I actually looked at the numbers. Obviously, when they announced that Near Airport was going to be a thing, the streams of all of the players significantly boosted. But like after like a month or something like that, the numbers, kind of got brought back down to like regular Doublelift numbers. I think like what he was usually getting on most of his just regular solo queue streams is what he was getting when they were streaming scrims or streaming POVs for games. Like, it wasn't necessarily helping them with growing their individual brands. And so I think that was probably another factor that played into them just saying, fuck it, let's quit, because it wasn't helping them in particular. And I think that that's probably why they went into this in the first place, to try and just grow their brands, not necessarily, and they thought it was going to be quick and easy. So they got proven wrong in quite literally every single every single corner of the mentality that they had going into this, which is little bit fun, because I subscribe to none of the things that they thought.
For sure. All right, now we can talk about promo tourney.
Yes.
Now we can turn to
Let's
more
go.
positive things. So, Near Airport's departure means that we had 3 teams qualify for the promo tourney, and you know what? Maybe that was for the best, because it seems like Citadel and Dorado would have just kind of slammed through this whole tournament, and it wouldn't have actually been as fun. But instead, we get a nice 5-game promotion banger between Polestar and Jolly Rogers, where the good guys win, and Jolly Rogers get to make it into the league. So everybody's happy at the end of the day. What a great run here. Pick something to focus on, Quax. I don't know. I'm down to start anywhere. I have somewhere to start, but it's going to be somewhere negative again. So I'm going to have to. You have to take us into the light.
I have to be our positive.
Take us into the light, please.
I get us.
And then I'll come and shit talk Polestar.
I am really fucking happy for Dorado in particular. I tweeted about this before we went live, Gordo. I missed the first game, which I was really sad about because they locked in Kazakhs. But I tweeted that, like, for those of you who don't know me, I was a player that liked to play competitive way back in like COVID, right? Like 2020, 2021 is when I had basically played pro for almost 2 years. I had gone around various teams, some teams you might recognize, such as like Team Ambition, Omega Gaming, which is run by Ivar, the commissioner of Aegis. And overall, I went to like various different leagues. There were things like Last Hit Gods that I did, which is basically like Aegis V1. And then obviously I competed in Aegis for, I think, like a split. But Dorado was the org that I most wanted to join, because Dorado had a reputation under them. Most orgs, honestly, had a reputation under them for being able to get better teams, right? Because they kind of had the pick of the litter. They weren't just like a ragtag group of 5. They legitimately had like tryouts of sometimes like 50 to 60 people, and they would pick the best from those pools and put some super teams together. But Dorado had something special in my mind, and it's the fact that they always fucking won. Like, all of their teams, even when they didn't win, they would put out some extremely impressive results. And so I really wanted to be on one of those teams, because I knew that they were going to be able to, produce results in terms of standing and potentially make me a better player. And I'm really happy that mentality carried all the way over from my goddamn shitty ass plat leagues to the NACL, because they finally did it. So I'm really happy that this team made it, because not only am I a fan of Dorado as an organization, I'm a fan of the players, right? They've obviously got like Kaido, who is my Kazakhs GOAT. And I was really happy to be able to interview him. They've got they've got Shochi, they've got Mixture, they've got Fatikan, they've got Ariana. All of their players scream the definition of development for the next generation of players. And I could not be more excited, not only that they get to promote in and do it in such dominating fashion, but people seemed a bit lower than I expected going into the promo tournament on Dorado. Like, it kind of felt like people were under the impression that Dorado were good, but wouldn't necessarily be able to make the jump seamlessly. And the 3-0 against Polestar that we got to cast, Gordo, I think it activated like the Winter Soldier code words for everybody that watched, and just immediately changed everybody's mind, because they went from like a pretty unproven. We'll see how it shakes out too. This team is going to fucking bang when they get into the NACL. So I'm really extremely proud and excited for Dorado. I'm really happy for Citadel and Jolly Rogers as well. But like Dorado in particular is probably the team I'm on top of them, and Blue Otter are the teams that I'm probably going to be rooting for the most going into summer. So I'm going to wear that flag right now so that all y'all can understand where I'm at mentally, emotionally, where my heart is for the summer of this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Dorado come out underrated. I think it's two things. I think one, people have seen City Witty / Kaido.
Call him Kaido, bro. Come on. We interviewed him.
But they haven't seen Kaido. They've seen City Witty. That's my point. Kaido's a different beast, though. Fine. I'm sold. He's like, he's
good.
Yeah, and I really liked, actually, we interviewed him after he qualified.
He's a psychopath, by the way. That Nocturnal to try and steal the dragon was like the funniest shit ever, and then he has them chase him for like 30 seconds. I'm sorry, I had to interject that shit.
No, you're
so
good.
Funny.
Yeah, I just think maybe it's weird to read too much into this, but I found it interesting how in our interview after he qualified, he mentioned like being on Team Liquid first and the environment being really bad, and then subbing in for AoE and it being better but brief, and they did win, of course, and then he didn't end up with a spot anyway. So I'm willing to read this as like his first shot on like a team that maybe has a better chance of gelling together, and, you know, look at him with fresh eyes from that perspective, even though he's played for other teams and stuff. He's played other roles as well and hasn't quite been able to put it together to make it to NACL before until he had this really stacked roster. So I'm going to come in with a little bit of skepticism towards him, but I'm willing to give him another chance. The other thing is I think the community at large is just ignorant to Ariana. I think people
I agree.
don't watch...
I was in that club too.
Yeah, like I think people don't watch a lot of ACL. They don't watch very much C-Law, and they come in without the knowledge of... You know, this guy played with his collegiate team last OQ, so they just come in without knowing just how good this guy's going to be. And...
I will say, Ariana still, although he proved to me that he is a dominant tier 3 top laner, I am really curious to see how he does against some of the tier 2 top laners. Because I think Ariana, to me, his biggest issue as a player is that he is extremely greedy sometimes. Mm-hmm. Like, he overstays on waves to an extent where sometimes he gets caught, or sometimes he'll get a kill. Someone will see, like, enemy top will TP back. And because he doesn't shove the wave in time, he might just die in response. So I do think that there are some kinks to iron out for Ariana, but, like, to see promise in a player, I think is like him is really exciting. Like, I think that it's been a little bit since I've been this excited about like a top lane prospect in particular.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with all that, but I thought all those same things about Hoarder coming into this split, and I don't know, just the NACL level competition or something clicking in his brain pre-last OQ, one or the other. Just
you had a glow up.
Just change that guy. But yeah, no, that's. So I'm excited for this team. I hope they somewhat stay together. We will see how the roster shakes out, but very happy to have this team in. Citadel, it feels like we've talked to death about, but already because of ACL, it's the same roster pretty much that they've been running.
Yeah, I will say the one caveat to this team and the one worry I have this team is fucking Kenvi. Like, I do think Kenvi is still a good player, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention that I think he is a step below his team's talent going into the split. Like, obviously, I think Kenvi has the ability to turn it on, but it feels like with C-Lol on UST, and then, like, in particular, it didn't feel like he was particularly impactful in this last OQ and then this last promotion tournament. I am a little bit worried about him, especially because I think jungle still remains one of our most stacked fucking positions. Like, going into next year, we're probably going to be seeing beasts like Kisnell return. Kryra might get a starting roster. God, I hope so.
Oh, please.
Please. Like, there are a lot of good junglers, and I don't necessarily know. No, that's the third fucking K jungler in NACL. That's 3 junglers in NACL that have starting letter of K. Wow. Okay, I should just be called Quack
Don't do
Cax
it.
Quax.
Okay,
Uh,
watch yourself. Watch yourself.
yeah.
Steady.
Um, um, I mean, I don't know. Like, I also think that this team might run into some issues about what to actually play around. Like, I think Instinct and Diamond are definitely looked at as the perennial carries for this team, but I think, Philip in particular is known for being a weak side top laner. Bradley is a very good late game carry, but I don't necessarily think that his early game and laning phase is on par with certain other mid laners. Like, I think Shochi probably has a much better laning phase than him. And maybe that could change. So I think a lot of the just snowballing relies on this bot lane, and I don't know if that is going to work out for them. If they can only really play through one lane, then that seems like it could definitely be exploited by some of the better teams. So that's my biggest worry, or those are my two biggest worries, I should say.
Yeah, I don't know. I see where you're coming from on that from his time on Fly Challengers, but like at the tier 3 level, Bradley's such a dominant laner. Bradley's laning stats for ACL this last split are absolutely insane. And yes, they get buffed up because he's playing against like randos that are like GM peakers, but he's such a dominant laner at the ACL level. Like even as recently as watching his games up against Cupid and stuff, right? Or
Yeah.
they're not Cupid in ACL, right? They're Conviction Star, but um, like how dominant he's able to be up against teams like that and mid laners like Doxa. I don't know. He's got a good laner in him, but I agree he hasn't always shown it at the NACL level. So we'll see. This is only going to be split 2 for him in NACL as a mid laner. Most of his NACL career is as a top laner. So I think there's room for Bradley to grow, but we'll keep our eyes on that one. And then finally, Jolly Rogers qualifies at a 5-game banger. That's Dragoon, Will, Sudsy, Zev, Nukes. I was pretty close
Yeah.
to counting this team out, I'm not going to lie, but
Yeah.
really
I
good
was
pull
too.
together from... I think Will looked the best he has looked
Will looked really good. I
since,
think Will looked really good, and Dragoon was able to kind of turn it on a little
yeah,
bit,
like
which I
best
was
Will
happy
has
about.
looked to me since Dig Academy, like when he was in high school, only playing Academy in the summers. Like that's the last time this guy impressed me this much. Maybe like 100 Thieves Academy, he looked pretty good there as well.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, I will say for this team, I think there's a lot of imparity for them. Like, I don't expect this team to be very stable at first, at least. Like, if I had to put my thumb on where I think all of the new teams stack up in terms of where they'll probably be placed in the standings, I would say I would be rather confident in my placement of both Dorado and Citadel. I would not be confident in Jolly Rogers. I think that these guys have they have a very low floor, but quite a high ceiling. I feel like people underestimate a lot of these players, or either don't know how good they actually can be. So where these guys will end up, honestly, at the end of the split, best of ones, of course, uh, is anyone's guess. And that makes it kind of exciting for me.
I don't want to talk shit on these boys, but I don't know. I don't really see the ceiling for now. If it's this group of 5, I'm pretty confident where I'm going to have them, and I think it's going to be pretty low. I'm going to be open to being surprised, but I mean, especially with these carries, like let
I will
Sud
say
let
I'm
let
not I'm
Sud
not
listen.
sold on
I'm going
Zev.
to advocate against Sudsy here, but let Sudsy start. This motherfucker's earned it. Don't you take this guy
Yeah,
out of your
it's like it's
roster.
third time promoting
Yeah.
or some shit.
Let
Yeah.
Sudsy motherfucking play NACL. That said, I don't think Sudsy will be a great mid laner at the NACL level, and I don't think Zev is going to be very great competition for the level of marksman players we're going to have in the NACL
Oh
either.
yeah,
I think
we
these
we are gonna be getting
carries.
some banger marksmen.
Yeah, I mean, Nuke's really impressed me in this promo tournament, and he's still, an up and comer. Um, I think Dragoon deserves a second shot. I think Will looked really good and has looked really good in the past. Um, Nukes has really been impressing me over these last couple of years, like on that Reluminate roster, and then he was on the Nanos Noobs ACL team. Like Nukes has been going up and up and up for me over these last couple
Yeah.
of
Oh
years.
yeah.
So I'm very happy to see him. Um, very happy for Dragoon and Will to get additional shots. My confidence in Sudsy and Zev is low.
I mean, I'm not too sure about Zev. Like, I do think that it is a glaring weakness for the team, and I don't like to be mean to certain players, call them out, and be like, "You are going to be the issue for your squad."
Would love to be wrong, but I think that's gonna be my opinion going in.
But like
I'm not gonna lie and
I
say there's a chance that I rank this team top half. I'm not gonna do it.
no, I mean, I probably wouldn't rank them top half either. But I do because I will say one thing about losing Polestar and AMI is I think it is very clear, or much less clear, rather, who's going to be at the bottom of this list. Obviously, part of that is because we don't know the other fucking rosters and what the changes are going to be. But, like, it is going to be a little interesting, I think, who is actually at the bottom. Because, all in all, like, I think that the worst teams in the league are certainly going to be better than they were in spring. Like, I think our worst teams in summer will definitely be better than AMI and better than Pulse, but I don't think our best teams are going to be better than like Luminosity, Peak Dark Zero, and potentially Near Airport. So I think it kind of lies somewhere in the middle there for summer. And I do think that Jolly Rogers kind of embody the mentality or the idea of what I'm talking about. Like not awful, not amazing, probably in the middle for me.
Ace them.
Potentially
you
toward
found
the
that.
lower echelon, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Well, I think that'll do the episode then. Thank you, everybody, for tuning on in. If you happen to be watching this right as it drops on Wednesday the 25th, ACL finals
We're
are
live, probably.
tonight. We're about to go live. It's going to be at 7 Eastern on the Aegis Esports GG channel. Go check it out. Best of 5 between Citadel and Conviction Star, which is basically Cupid. Yeah, I don't know. Big opportunity to go watch some great. I mean, this is a matchup that like 2,500 people watch when it's on the NACL stream, but when it's on the Aegis stream, it's like less than 20. It's less than 5% of that. So, yeah, come hang out. It's gonna be a good game. It's basically a rematch of the promo tournament, but it's for a lot more money, because it's for money at all. Which can't be said about the NACL promo tournament anymore. So, come hang out. It's going to be a bunch of fun. Looking forward to it alongside everybody else. We're going to have Quax and Shauna on the desk, myself and TDS on the cast. It's going to be a party. Hope to see everybody there. But until then, we will be back in a couple of weeks probably once we start to learn more about the NACL rosters.
We'll see. Maybe something insane happens.
Maybe something insane happens. I'm hearing
and,
some crazy off-season stuff. So maybe we'll even get an episode before we get to preseason power rankings. We will look and see. Stay tuned to all the Salt Mine channels to find out. But thank you all for tuning on in, and we will see you next time.